is calling us, Dimino, from Italy. He's number 6 in the world. He's coming back for the Atlanta Cup at Gas South Arena on December the 6th in Turin, Italy, preparing for his Nitto ATP Finals. And thanks to Ben Shelton for joining us transcontinentally on the Loud Security Systems Newsmaker line. Ben, thanks for coming on the show. How's Italy treating you thus far?
What's up, guys? It's not the U.S., but I like it here. It's a good spot. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
Yeah, what are you looking at right now? I don't know if you're in a room with a window or if you're actually outside. What are you looking at right now in Italy?
Yeah, I'm sitting in my hotel room. I'm looking out a window. It's nice weather here right now. It's a smaller city. It's not like crazy amounts of stuff to do, but I'll be staying in my hotel room pretty much most of the time when I'm on these trips.
Now, it's smart because you're there on business. You can't go and tour the hillside, right?
Exactly, business trips.
So I'm texting with somebody this morning. It is a coincidence. He's in both Italy and Switzerland. He was in Italy yesterday. He told me something, and he asked me as an Italian, he said, what do you think of this? He said, they bring you out a pizza on a plate, and then they give you a knife and a fork. And I said, well, that's not pizza. Is that really what happens in Italy? They're not slicing this thing up, putting it into slices?
Yeah, it's like they don't have like the roller cutters, that we got at the crib that cut the pizza. They don't have that. So yeah, you take the fork and the knife and you start eating it. I don't know. Sometimes I just like tear it with my hands. I don't eat too much pizza, but I think that's one of the things when you're in Italy, you got to eat the pizza. It may be a weird style of pizza that you're eating, but it's definitely better than what we got in the U.S.
So, Ben, tell us about coming back to the place that you were born. Your father coached here for a while. The Atlanta Cup coming to Gas South Arena December the 6th. It's going to be a very, very exciting exhibition. And if you're a tennis fan, I'm sure you'll want to be there.
Yeah, I think it's sick. For me, coming back home, being able to play in front of friends and family, like you said, in my hometown. My dad coached at Georgia Tech all those years. I grew up in Atlanta. I want to move back there at some point, either during my career or when my career is over. And yeah, we got a great tennis community there. So I think it'll be a lot of fun. There's a lot of different places that I could have done an exhibition this offseason, whether it was in the U.S. or, like you said, transcontinental. But this was the one that I wanted to do. Being my hometown, I thought it would be special. I think there's a great lineup. The 4 players that we have, all superstars. And, I'm super, super excited. So I think that we'll get a great turnout. I hope it ends up being a big, great event. I'm going to put 150% into it. And let's see what happens.
I know that you want to win because they are keeping score. But how much fun is it to show personality in events like this? And you do the crossover with the men and the women sort of playing at the same time on the same day right there on the same court. How much personality has an ability to come out in something like this?
Yeah, it's a lot of fun because, like you said, we're still competitive. We still want to win. There's something on the line there. But at the same time, compared to the rules, restrictions, regulations of our normal ATP tour, you play an exhibition, anything goes, You got music, you got an MC, sometimes you got mics on the players, and it kind of gives you the ability to trash talk, the crowd kind of be able to hear you talk and your thoughts. And I think that the interaction is a lot more fun in this type of format. So I think when you have players with great personalities and talented players as well, it makes it a lot of fun, and you get to see a side of these athletes that in normal competition you don't get to see it all.
Ben Shelton is with us. He is over in Italy playing right now. He is going to be in town for the Atlanta Cup. Great exhibition taking place December the 6th at Gas South Arena. Nick Kyrgios, he'll be taking him on. Arina Sabalenka, Naomi Osaka, all going to be here. And you talk about going all over the place and playing all these big names. Is there one match that you remember standing out more so, because you've had great success, but one match that stands out more so than any other so far in your career?
Maybe a couple. I think when I was playing in the French Open this year, I had a crazy 4-set match against Carlos Alcaraz in the round of 16. He ended up winning the tournament. He's gone back to back at the French Open and has kind of been the next gen star that's been winning a lot of Grand Slams. So to be able to match up with him on surface like that, an arena that I'm not used to, the red clay surface that I'm not comfortable with, to kind of go in there and have that whole new experience was pretty cool for me. I mean, the U.S. Open is my favorite tournament of the year, so getting to play Djokovic there in the semifinals, Francis Tiafoe in the quarters, I've had some cool moments, and that's my favorite tournament. But I'd say, somewhere between those three have been the most special for me.
And obviously playing at Florida, you know what it's like to play in a college atmosphere. That U.S. Open is as close to a college football atmosphere in tennis as you're going to get, right?
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy up there, People in New York City, they come to the U.S. Open, they like their drinks, that's for sure. And they're just saying whatever comes to mind. So you got a lot of people screaming, and I hope it's kind of that same atmosphere at GAS December 6th.
When you get to a place like the U.S. Open, is your personality more conducive? Do you enjoy sort of what's going on in the crowd? And I would imagine if that's the case, there are other people who, I don't want to say tighten up a little bit, but if it gets a little bit loud, gets a little bit rambunctious, they might not enjoy it as much as other people.
Yeah, 100%. I thrive in those type of environments, playing at University of Florida, as you said, when we came up there and played Georgia, it was a war zone, and they terrorized us when we played. Anything goes. The things that they said in the crowd is, they coming after your family, your girlfriend, your sister. They say some crazy stuff over there in Athens. So for me, playing in hostile places or even just loud, rowdy crowds is something that I love, and I think that the sport is changing that way, and more of that is accepted. We've always been considered this gentleman's sport and been told how we have to act on the court and be respectful, and I understand the side of respecting the game. But at the same time, having fun and personality, I think is really good for the sport.
So you're young, but then McEnroe, Agassi, guys who are a little bit different. Do you know the history of guys like that and how they push the game forward and how people push back on them?
Yeah, 100%. 100%. McEnroe especially, got a lot of flack in the day that he played for the way that he acted, and fast forward now, he's one of the icons of sports. He's in the Travis Scott commercial, and he's got the signature shoe, and there's so many things that make Johnny Mac iconic. And I think Andre, at the same time, the way he dressed and the fashion that he brought to tennis was very different from what the tennis world was used to seeing, and I think that's the same as it goes for anything where there's change. There's always some pushback or people who don't like to see change, but I think we're all about evolution as humans. We change, we evolve, and I think the same goes for tennis, and it's become what it is today, and I think that exhibitions like this one that we're playing in Atlanta is a great opportunity to showcase some of that stuff.
Yeah, it's still a show. I wanted to ask you about being coached by your father. What is that actually like? Because for some people, it might not work.
Yeah, for us, it works really well, and it works because, we respect each other as father-son and also as player-coach. And I know that, being my father, he wants the best for me, but I also respect him as a former pro and a very high-level coach, and I think that's why we work well together and have had a lot of success together. So working with him is a lot of fun, traveling the world together, and, yeah, we're just getting started.
What's the difference? You're ranked number 6, by the way. Congratulations, because that's a stout number. Anytime you're top 10, anything in the world. What's the difference between a number 6 player, number 10 player, and the 200th player? Like, what's the fine line that we're talking about in tennis?
Yeah, I think it's a little bit physical, but in ability, but at the same time, it's mental. I think that to be a top player and to win all the time, you have to deal with losses too. Tennis is a sport where you take a lot of losses, and it's individual losses where it's just you getting beat by another guy. So you don't have any excuses. You don't have any teammates to lean on. You don't have any, coaches to blame. It's all on you. So to be able to mentally recover through those losses throughout the year, the peaks and valleys of a long 11-month season, you got to be really mentally tough. And so sustaining a level is how you end up at the top of the rankings or one of the best players in the world. And, there's a lot of talented tennis players that, you never see on TV that are great players. It's just such a tough mental sport to be able to sustain for such a long time that you need to.
Finishing up with Ben Shelton on the Loud Security Systems Newsmaker line, the Atlanta Cup. Great exhibition going on at Gas South Arena, December the 6th. Nick Kyrgios going to be there, Arina Sabalenka, and Naomi Osaka, along with Ben Shelton. So I'm looking at your Wikipedia page. It says as a kid you played football. Do you miss it at all?
I do. It was my favorite sport growing up. I grew up in Atlanta playing at Chastain Park. That's where I played football when I lived there. And yeah, it was, the one other sport that I loved. And kind of when I was like 13 years old, I had to choose between football and tennis. And, I chose tennis. And for a while, I was like, am I going to regret it one day? But I think at this point, with where I'm at in my career, I'm happy with my decision.
Yeah, you made the right choice.
Yeah, you're 23, and here's the thing. You don't necessarily look 23. Did you hustle over at Chastain Park? You ever take some of those NYO dads for a little bit of cash?
Playing tennis?
No, man. I was too young for that. Too young.
Hold
NYO,
on.
That's right.
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
what it was.
You're never too young to hustle because there's always some 35, 40-year-old guy who wants to tell you about, let me tell you about my game. Oh, yeah, let's see how that goes. So you never did that.
No, I didn't, man. I didn't. I was a good kid.
When you're 13,
The son of a coach, you better be.
when you're 13, how old are the players you're playing? Like, to what level? If you're a ranked teenager, you can play 15-year-olds. Now, again, strength and everything else is going to come into play. But what was the level of game that you were playing at when you were 12 and 13?
Well, I mean, it depends, because for me, when I was a kid, I sucked. I was kind of a late bloomer, and that's because I was playing so many other sports until I was 13, and whether it was football, basketball, baseball, I was playing them all. So I was a late bloomer, and I wasn't one of the best 13, 14, 15, 16-year-olds in the country, much less the world. And it wasn't really until I was like 18, 19 that I started to play really well and start to have some success just within the country. So, yeah, I guess some of these kids, or I guess most of these kids who are now top tennis professionals were prodigies and were at the, top of the world rankings as 12 and 14-year-olds. But, my path was a little bit different. But I'm sure that some of the kids who were really good at 12 or 13 could play with a, 15-year-old.
Well, there's some kid your age right now talking about kicking your ass when you were 12 and 13 right over there at Chastain Park. And they're bragging on it and all over God's green earth. Hey, last thing for you. Did you watch the McEnroe documentary?
No, I actually haven't.
Okay. There's a thing
Well,
that...
actually, I did watch like half of it.
Okay.
I watched half of it.
But there's a thing where they start gritting out a court, and what it's supposed to show you is how the small box of how you guys at this level play tennis, what you see is very different than what I would see or even some player would see. Is that true? Do you see the court maybe in a way that nobody could understand? It's not really explainable?
Yeah, I think it's tough. I mean, the way that you see angles and the way that you see like a certain shot coming at you and the possibilities of a certain shot that the other person could hit versus, your options and shots that you can hit. I think it's a complex game. There's basically unlimited movements in 360 degrees that you got to be able to make in the blink of an eye, and so many different shot selections and type of shots that you have to try to execute and also defend against. It's a complex sport, and I think for a person who's never watched tennis, if I was trying to explain how I see the court, they would, think I was speaking a different language.
Yeah, maybe you could try to explain that during the exhibition, the Atlanta Cup, Gas South Arena, December the 6th. Ben Shelton on with us, going to be there with Naomi Osaka, Arina Sabalenka, and Nick Kyrgios. Ben, good luck over there in Italy, and hopefully we'll catch up once you come back to town.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. Nice talking to you.